Hello guys, in this lecture we will learn how to create a NodeJs and React authentication system. So let's get to it. First I will open a folder and go to my htdocs, and here I will make a home group. I will make a folder called Node React Auth. I already have that. 1 second. I'll delete that. Let it delete. And now I shall name this Node React Auth. And I will open this folder in WebStorm. You can use VS Code or any other code editor. This is my other app. I will close this project. I will open a new project. D, my htdocs. Refresh. And we should see Node React Auth. Okay, so now open the terminal. Make dir server. 1 second, let me just accept this, okay? And we should have a folder called server here. Now go into server and install a few things. So first npm init-y and say yarn install yarn add express body parser nodemon bcrypt js mongoose and json web token. Add these files. Now we should see node modules and package.json. So in server we will just create a server.js, package.json, and here we will say start, and here we will say node server.js, and also dev nodemon server.js. Here we go. Now we will need a few things. We will need models and controllers. Controllers with plural. Controllers. And models, we will make a new JavaScript file called user, and we will say const mongoose because require mongoose, and say const mongoose const user schema equals new mongoose schema. And here we will say name is string, email is string, password is string, and that's it. And here we will say timestamps true. That's just what I like to do. Export, and now we will have const user equals mongoose model user and user schema. Module, not module, exports user. And here we will have user schema pre, save, function. One second, I need to check on my own. GitHub. To be sure, because I don't remember. It's just, most of it is just copy paste code. Not needed to be remembered. But so we need this. And I will go over what this means. So here we have a user schema pre, which means every pre-save, which means every time that you save the user, this will run. So basically we say async function next, which we will call at a certain point, and then we say const user equals this, because this function returns the user, has the user as this. So first we check if the user is not modified, has modified the field password. If it hasn't, then there is no need to change anything. We just return next. Otherwise, we say const hash await bcrypt, which will need to say bcrypt require bcrypt.js. It will hash the password with user password with 10 salt rounds. So then we say user password equals hash and then next. So that's it. We just need one model, and controllers, we will need one controller called auth. And by the way, we will need middleware called is auth.js, and in auth we will need a const express require express, and we will need a const router express router, and module exports router. And here we will say router.get init async function of rec res, and here we will say const user equals await. Now we will need the user. Const user equals require models user. Await user that find by ID rec user ID, and we will get this rec user ID from our authentic is auth middleware. So that's what we'll do later. And then we say res send user as an object, because we want to know if it's null or not. So now let's do the middleware here. Module exports equals rec res next, and then we will say if no. Here we will need a const jwt equals require JSON web token, and here we will say try and catch, and just say next here, and say here we will say const token equals rec headers authorization const token data maybe, and say const token equals token data split like this, and then number 1 in the array. That will be the token. So here we say if not gwt.verify token, and I just put a simple secret app. So if we could not verify this, then we just return next. Else we say rec user ID equals to token user ID. Next. That's our middleware. Now let's go to router.post register async rec res, and here we will say const user equals await user let find 1, and we will say email is equal to rec body not email. Now if user exists, then we will say return res.send.status of 4140 send message email already exists. Otherwise, actually let's make this let, because we will override this. User equals user name be rec body.name, email be rec body.email, password will be rec body.password, and this password will be automatically hashed thanks to this function pre-save. It does this here, so it creates the hash here, and then it overrides the user password with this hash, and then it saves. So now we want to log in the user as we register him. So we say const token equals JWT sign user ID, and we will need to include sorry, const JWT equals require JSON web token, and we will also need bcrypt for logging in, require bcrypt.js. And now we will say res send token, because we don't need the user. I will show you why. Router post login async rec res, then we will say const user equals await user find email rec body email. If not user, return res status of 41 and send message could not log you in. And now const is equals to await bcrypt compare, and now I need to check there. I think it's rec body password and then user password. If not is equal, we return the same message. otherwise. And here we will need to say app, and we just copy this and paste this here. And now we will need a new middleware called is protected module exports equals to rec res next, and we say if not rec user ID return res send status 41 else next. So we have this middleware, and we will need a new controller called dashboard. And let me just copy these two lines. Module exports router, and router.get will be like this, and it will be just a simple rec res send message success welcome from API or something like this. Normally you would have functions here that are protected by your middleware. So now here we will say const express equals require express, const body parser equals require body parser, const. No, we don't need mongoose. Do we need? Yes, of course we need mongoose, because we need to connect to the database. Mongoose require mongoose, and now I need to check the code for connecting to mongoose because I have it, but I don't remember it by heart. So we will also need .env, so we are now .env. So basically we'll just copy these lines. So we need path as well, we need .env, and actually here creating a file called .env mongodb URI equals to, and now we will go to mlab, we will log in, and here I will create equal IAM test1 test1. I will delete this database after connecting to this. So I will copy this, paste it, test1, we call IAM, and now we should be connecting to the DB. So basically we take mongoose, we put the connect function, and then we put our .env file with the MongoDB URI parameter. Then we use two parameters here, otherwise we will get warnings. So the first one is use new URL parser, set it to true, and use unified topology, set it to true as well. And then we say mongoose.connection.on connected console log connected to MongoDB. Now we will say const port equals to 5000, app listen port, and we say console log server running on port. and we should be able to connect to our database now. So we say yarn run dev, and we have a problem. App is not defined. Of course, we need to say const app equals express app.use body parser.json. And now we see server running on port 5000 connected to MongoDB. There we go. And now we need to say app.use express static path.join their name back 2 times to go back to the root directory of the project, and then we say client build, then we say app.use API auth, and then we say require controllers auth, and then we say API dashboard, and we also need const is auth require middleware is auth, and const is protected require middleware is protected. So here now we shall say app use is auth, and here in dashboard we just say is protected, and that's it. And we should protect our routes. The reason why we don't say is protected on the auth route, API auth route, is because we don't need to check if the user is registered to actually register, right? I mean, if you want to log in, you cannot expect to have an active user, so that's why. So auth is without any middleware except for the is auth, so which is general for every route, but it's protected is only connected to the dashboard route. And also we need one more route, app.get, and that will be the wildcard route, and this will say res send file, and here we'll say path.join their name, go up one level, go up to client, build, and index.html. This is for production only, so it registers the React route properly. So that's a server, it should work. So now we should have done this before, but I will just say npx create React app client, and I will go to the toilet. Alright, it's done. So the first thing we need to do, now we should see the client folder, go to package.json and type in proxy HTTP localhost port 5000, which is the port that that is used by the server. We should have the port here actually, but doesn't matter. Let those processes finish. It's quite a long time actually, but let us just clean up the app. We don't need app.css. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. What do we do need is pages. New. I will not. Normally, I would create a directory for each page, for each component and page. But because this is a little tutorial, a small tutorial, I will just create a login. Don't add. And here we will say import. My god, this indexing is killing me. Let's just wait for this one to finish. You can't see it on the screen, but if I move the camera, you can see that it's indexing the files. Because if it does indexing, the program will run faster when using autocomplete. So that's what I'm using. WebStorm. And import React from React, and export default function, return div. Let's switch to React.js. Here we go. Now we should be able to do this. And here we will say form. Actually, we will have a h1 here. We will say login. Form. Div. Label. Name. Input. Input value name unchange event set name event target value, and we will copy this four times, and here we'll have a button. And we'll say login. So here we'll have const name, set name, use effect, no, use state, nothing. Copy this a few times. Here we'll have email, here we'll have password, and here we'll have password again. So here we'll set email, set password again, and here we'll have email, set email, and here email. Now we just go like this. Password again, and then here we will have password again, and we will also need errors and set errors, use state, empty array, and here we will say double exclamation mark errors, the length, and UL, and you will have errors dot map error index li error. And in the form we will need unsubmit. Just call it unsubmit. Const unsubmit equals async event. Now event prevent default, and here we'll say set errors to an empty array to reset them. And now we'll have let errors equals empty array. Now why am I doing this? Because now I can say if not name, then errors dot push name is required. And now for email password again, now here we will say email is required. And now actually I will go to CD client and say yarn add validator, and then say import validator from validator. And now here we'll have else if not validator is email, the push email has wrong format. And here we'll have if not is password, then password is required. And not if password again, let's say password confirmation is required. And then say else if password again not equals to password errors that push passwords must match. And now we say if errors length, then return set errors, set it to errors. That's why we did this. Otherwise we say const data equals name, email and password. And then we say in this we also need a new directory called services. And here we'll have a new file called http client, and actually here we will yarn add Axios, import Axios from Axios, and say export default function. And here we will say return get is a function that calls axios.get, and it will call the URL, and default options and options, and post will call axios post URL data, and then this, and here say const token data equals const token equals local storage get item token. If token, then we say 1 second, I need to double check. I'm confused. Let me check the div. Which one to check? Let me check this one. Yeah, so basically just take this and we have const URL options, URL data options, and here we have set the token as that authorization. So and that's our HTTP client. So here we will just import this HTTP client, and you say const response equals await HTTP client dot get dot post API of login data, and actually we will take this, put it in a try catch block, set errors to error response data message, const token equals local storage, no, just local storage set item token, we need to call to response that data that token, because that's what we returned from here. So now we should be able to log in. Why? First we need to say Windows, location, and just reload the page, because I have what I have noticed is that when we set the token, it's not immediately available after we push the history. So if we push without a page refresh, it will not register with the first HTTP request if we have any AJAX requests running right after we log in. So it will not find the token and it will always return unauthorized 401. That's why we always need to say window location equals to dashboard to / which will be dashboard in our case. So that's the login. Now let's create register, and actually login doesn't need the name, and this is not required, this is not required, this is not required, and just delete the name and delete the password again. And here just this is actually very true, very right, and here just say register and call this register, and we should be set. Now we need a new page called dashboard, made a typo, import React from React, export default function, return and here we'll have a div h1 welcome to the dashboard, and we will import HTTP client, and here we'll have a use effect, running only once, so get data and const get data will be a sync function, and const data equals await HTTP client and get API dashboard. And now if we're logged in, we should receive the data. So we will just console the log data message. Actually, let's take this, put in a try catch block, and we console the log e response data, or actually status. So we should see 401 if we are not authorized. But we could actually do something else. We could just take this, put it here, and we will always know that it's gonna run, because we could have a data, set data, use state, and this will be null or empty string. And we will set data message, and here we will have data, just data. And we can have response from server or something like this, and this should show the welcome from API message. So now actually we will need yarn add react router DOM. Let it download. Here we go. And now in our index.js we can just take this, delete this, we don't need it. And here say import browser router from react router DOM, and here we'll say browser router, and here we'll take our app, put it inside of it, and now in our app we will import route switch from react router DOM. So we will have a switch here, and we will have a route here, path to nothing, and here we will have actually const user set user use state null for default. And here we'll have use effect, running only once, and we will call this init. Now const init equals a sync function that will get our data from await HTTP client get API auth init, and we say if data.user set user data user, and we will also need const initiated and is initiated use state false. I keep hitting the microphone. It's close to my hand actually. I got a new microphone, by the way, because the other one was kind of low, actually. And here I can talk and talk and talk, and it's very loud. And it also has the pop filter. It wasn't actually expensive. I think it was like $150 or something. Not bad. And here we say set initiated to true. This is supposed to be set initiated. And here we will wrap this around initiated. And here we already know if we have the user or not because we're initiated. So we can just say if the user is here, then display dashboard, otherwise redirect to auth login. So here we will need redirect, and now we will need a route path of auth login, and this needs to be exact. So we say if not user, then show login, otherwise redirect to dashboard. And now we will take this, copy, paste, say register here, say register here, and it should be nice formatted and stuff. If not user, then login. If not, then this. It's not going to be styled nicely because that's not what the tutorial is about. But let's take a look how it looks, how it works. So we should see the login screen. Now we don't have any users, so let's register a new user. Go to auth register, and I will register with my name, my email, and this should be a password field, but you can check, you can do that yourself. It's easy. And now we should be able to log in. I don't know why we weren't logged in the first place. Let me take a look at the network. We have a problem in our server. Let me take a look. Illegal argument, string undefined. I think it's because it's actually, let me take a look at the server here. Controllers auth. Rec body password, user password. Argument, string undefined. Rec body password, user password. Wait, we could compare. Let me take a look at login. I don't understand. and this should be key index, and here key index. Let me take a look if the users were registered. Let me delete this one. Something is wrong with the auth. Yes. So await user.save, and that's why, because we didn't save the user. So let's do this again. Nikolai@gmail.com. Test, and we are not logged in, which is weird. Let me take a look at why. Again, this. Yarn run dev. And the register page should send the password. Yes. Did the user register? Yes. And it's hashed the password alright, but why is it not? Illegal argument string undefined. Decrypt compare. It should work. User find 1. That's why. Now let's take a look. And we are still not logged in. Let me take a look at the application, local storage, and we have a token. Let me take a look at the network, and init user null. User is null. So let's take a look at the init function, and here we'll say console.log rec user ID. Undefined. So problem is here is off. Because it's not correct. This should be here. Const user data equals like this. User data and now we should see that response from server, welcome to the from API. So guys, this is how you create a authentication flow. You can also create, for example, middleware for protecting admin routes, you can say I will show you. So it would be as admin, and we just say module export equals rec res next, and we just say if rec user ID and rec role user role equals to admin, then we say next. Otherwise we say res send status for 1. So that's how you would create a admin what is it called, middleware. And here we would of course we would need to have like a role string, and then we would in register we would say token sign user ID, and here we would say role user, and then user role, and the same here. So I'm gonna just copy this, paste it here, and now we would have is admin middleware in place, and just a matter of connecting it. So anyway guys, this is has been very fun. I hope this video will get a lot of views like my other video about Laravel and Vue.js, which almost has 14,000 views, which is amazing success for me. So I hope this video will also be popular and will get me a lot of views, because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so that I can get some money from ads and stuff. So I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, then like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.